need to talk about Zelda Echoes of Wisdom.
Oh, yeah, we do.
Yeah, this is a serious conversation, actually. And there are going to be no spoilers in this video. We will show some footage of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom.
Just stuff from the trailers, if you've seen any of the stuff that came out before the game came out.
But we need to have a sit-down conversation about this. The landscape of playing new games in the world has completely changed. This all started when I was kind of doing some research and just sort of looking around for some inspiration for ideas of YouTube videos we could make. And all of a sudden, I just started seeing spoiler after spoiler after spoiler in the titles, in the thumbnails of videos. And I know that this has been kind of like an issue for a while with a lot of things, but particularly with games that just came out, it blows my mind how much end game stuff, how much like every single thing has already been completely unlocked and on display, but not just that, forced upon me by YouTube and by, just algorithms and stuff in general. And I feel like the only way to actually enjoy a game in its pristine glory is to not ever be on the internet.
Right. It's a super small percentage of people who will just blast through a game right after it comes out, but those people have platforms that you can find if you look, or that will find you if you've looked for similar content in the past. And so it's like this less than 1% of gamers who do this kind of thing, that what they're doing is exposed to the gaming world in general. And so not only does it create a different way to sort of think about games as a gamer, or play games, or avoid the internet, but it also changes the way the games themselves are being developed by the game developers, which is like, even if you are offline and you enjoy a game that's pristine, you're still getting the version of the game that was made in a world that's trying to maintain value in games despite this massive immediate exposure that they get.
Yeah, they're trying to attenuate for that. So to still be an interesting game, a game that people want to buy, even though they're being showed it almost all of it within the first week. This is also made even worse by the fact that, I don't know if some of you heard, but Echoes of Wisdom leaked like a week before. Tears of the Kingdom leaked early.
And Nintendo's the best at preventing that kind of stuff from happening.
Yeah, absolutely. And part of it, I think, is that they try so hard to prevent it. Certain people are like, let me see if I can crack the code. You know?
Right.
But it released early, so by the time that the game actually released, some people who have different moral codes have already played through the entire game, already data mined it for every little nook and cranny of information,
and they're
have
putting
already
secrets and surprises in the thumbnails and stuff.
Yeah, and they're already they already have 100% of the game within hours. When Metroid Dread came out, like the moment it came out, Kotaku, one of the big like news video game websites, which I hate them.
Yeah.
They leaked like a bunch of stuff, and they're like, it performs so much better on emulators, and they were doing all this stuff, and Nintendo got really mad. And I was like, it was one of the times when I was like, Nintendo, get them.
Yeah,
like,
go get them.
Destroy them, please.
Nintendo often goes after
the little
stuff
guy
that maybe it'd be better if they didn't. But when someone deserves it, you're like, yeah, go get them.
One big question I have for all of you viewers right now is, how do you avoid spoilers, and how much do you care about spoilers? I wonder if part of it is that just the world has changed, and they just know they're going to get spoiled anyway, and so they're just like, whatever, I'll just deal with it.
And the games are a little less spoilery too, right? Like, imagine a Super Nintendo era RPG getting spoiled completely. It's like, well, the story is just blown out of the water. You can still play the game and build up your characters, but with a game like Mario Maker, for example, there's not that much to spoil, and the content keeps being new every day that people are playing the game.
Yeah, you brought that up earlier, that they're making games that kind of can't really be spoiled.
Right, or just less of the value is detracted from the spoiling of what is spoilable.
And I think Nintendo's onto that, because it's true. If they made a game where it was like the whole point is to figure out the twist ending, no one would buy it. Only a few people would buy it, and then they'd put it out on YouTube, and then everybody would have gotten all the value out of it.
Imagine if Castlevania Symphony of the Night came out in 2024. There'd be, spoiler,
there would be a big plot twist that happens.
Yeah, in the thumbnail on, an hour after the game releases.
Let's talk a little bit about how I think Nintendo is doing a good job of making unspoilable content.
Yeah, well, so Mario Maker's a good example, and I think some sort of like Zelda dungeon creator,
That would be awesome.
right?
That'd be
And
fun. And they actually have made that. In Link's Awakening has a
that's right.
function, but it's not that great.
But how much development would it take, and is that a possible launch day or launch window next Nintendo console idea? Echoes of Wisdom itself is like, okay, well, there's so many different ways to solve problems, and some of the value of the game is just bring your creativity to the table, or bed, or box, or boulder. And, solve puzzles in different ways. For some people, it's going to be about efficiency and speed. For some people, it's going to be about what one item can I solve the most problems with.
For some people, it's going to be, what's the stupidest way I could possibly solve this?
That might be what we do.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's good, right? Because we live in this world where, these spoilery kinds of things, data mining and leaking happen. So it's good that games are adapting to that and becoming kind of robust against those kinds of things. But at the same time, it's a shame because I miss the kind of games where you spoil it for yourself slowly at your own pace as you play it, because that's such a rewarding experience. And you don't get Mario Maker's story is Zippo.
Yeah, there's zero depth.
Right. And like, that's one of the great things about games as an art form is the depth that the story, can create in the gamer emotionally.
Take you to. And that's why I like indie games so much. I mean, Tunic is a great example of a game where it's awesome, it's really, really great, but like everybody who really cares about it and plays it are the same people who are like, I'm not going to spoil anything about this.
Right. I want as many people as possible to have the experience I had.
And I wonder if Nintendo is intentionally just not putting as much depth into their stories because of that fact.
I mean, they've never been huge on that.
Yeah.
Really, the Legend of Zelda franchise is kind of an exception.
That's true.
Metroid's got lore and stuff.
But people were complaining about like how Tears of the Kingdom was kind of surface level. And I wonder if that's part of it, is they just said, you know what, why make that the main thing of this game if everybody's going to know about it within the first week?
Right.
The main thing of this game needs to be playing with all of the machines you can make.
So with the real physics thing and the runes in Tears of the Kingdom being what they are, Ultra Hand especially, and Recall, like if I didn't own the game and I watched someone else playing the game, I'd be like, oh, here's what I would do if I were in that situation. Like you have the thought, I want to play with Ultra Hand. I want to play with Recall. I would do something different. But if you're playing a game where it's like when you click on the right thing, the predetermined animation occurs and then the story progresses and then you move on, it's basically just a visual novel, and there's no different paths that you can take as a gamer. And so watching someone else playing it is the experience.
Or like you have YouTube channels that just upload all the cutscenes and they just make a movie out of the cutscenes of that game, so that way you don't even have to play the game to get the rewards.
Right. And if you do play the game, you skip the cutscenes because you've seen them.
That's true.
Right.
But yeah, Echoes of Wisdom has, all these things that you want to play with, you want to like mess around with, and I think that's really Nintendo's strategy with this stuff is it's going to be leaked, maybe not leaked, but it's going to be shown a lot early on. So the main depth that we need to do is make toys, and that's what they've been, a toy company since the beginning,
and they've stressed that. That's why there's always peripherals and gimmicks with their hardware,
and in the games themselves. Like, I mean, each game has a gimmick. So what's next for Nintendo? That's my real question. What's next? What's the next system going to be bringing? What are the next Zelda titles and Mario titles and Metroid titles? What are they going to be doing to combat the new landscape that we find ourselves in, where there is no such thing as a spoiler-free environment anymore?
Yeah, I mean, I hope they keep trying the kinds of games that can get almost totally spoiled by spoilers and by leaks.
I love those games.
Yeah, I do too. And
Yeah.
it's like, okay, ideally what I would like is to go back to a world that really doesn't exist anymore. You can't go into the past, or to tell just humanity, to convince them. But you could convince 99% of YouTubers not to spoil stuff, and then everyone who's left that is unconvinced is going to go, haha, more room for me to grab a larger share of the clicks of people who want the game spoiled, or who can't resist the that
temptation.
enemy is in Echoes of Wisdom, or the final boss does what? And I think that's kind of why they do the gimmicks too, right? Because emulation doesn't put the Wiimote in your hand. You know, you can't WASD and mouse Wii bowling. You can, but it's not the same, right?
Not even close.
And so I think that's why Nintendo does things like the dual screen with the Wii U and the
to make it
and the 2DS
intentionally hard to emulate.
Right, and to steal basically. And that's kind of what leaking and spoilering is stealing on more of a idea level than, you know.
Yeah, you're kind of like stealing someone's experience.
I mean, I
feel like I was robbed. I mean, you know, like
because you've seen Echoes of Wisdom stuff that you haven't seen in game,
right? And it hasn't even been big stuff. See, that's my problem too. Loving Zelda as much as I do, anything is a spoiler.
Right?
Like I saw a room with a thing in it, and I was like, oh, I wish I would have seen that room. And when I played,
when you turned the corner from the next room,
because then I would have gone,
right.
But now I'm not gonna go.
You're gonna go.
I'm gonna go.
I'm gonna go.
I'm gonna go choke on my spit. Choke on my gum. Games that innovate in ways that make it so spoilers don't matter. A really interesting one is Undertale, where there are events that happen in different playthroughs that are completely randomized. So one person's playthrough is going to be different from another person's playthrough. It's almost like a trading card game where like the probability of you having this event show up in your playthrough is small. So if that event shows up in your playthrough, you're like, oh, I got the rare one.
Mm-hmm.
That would be a really cool thing to kind of see in Nintendo games as well. If they made a Zelda game where it's like 1 out of every 50 playthroughs, this thing happens. So then you've got a lot of replayability factor where it's like maybe this is the one, and there's no way to game the system. It's just It's completely like baked in. When you start the game file, it decides that thing is going to happen in this game file. That would be awesome.
You know what I'd like to see? Randomizers, right? So the original Legend of Zelda randomized is great, and people can create their own custom things, which is like, I'm going to put Dungeon 3 over here, and I'm going to put it behind this mechanic where you have to get the item from Dungeon 2 in order to even reach Dungeon 3, and all those kinds of things. But something like the Minecraft seeding system would be cool, too. Wouldn't you love to replay, and like, the Tears of the Kingdom Breath of the Wild overworld is a crafted, curated overworld.
Yeah.
So you'd have to dumb it down in some ways, and you'd have to be able to put like a boss event number 3 structure anywhere in the overworld in order for it to work. But they could make a Zelda game like that.
They could easily
and I would play it, and then I would play it again, and then I would play it again.
Nintendo, you should, instead of trying to take down all of Wakatero's videos, you should hire that man.
Yeah.
To help you make a randomizer version of Tears of the Kingdom and sell it.
Yeah. So think about it the other way. Think about if in Minecraft, right, the dungeon or the fortress was always in the same place. So like you could watch a new player play Minecraft for the first time and they don't know where the fortress is. You do, and they get really close and you're like, oh my gosh, and then they don't find it and you're like, oh, I can't believe they didn't find it. But it would be the same every time you play. The structures would be in the same locations, and there'd always be oak trees over here and dark whatever over there, and like, oh yeah, there's that river that's 800 steps to the west of spawn every single time.
Mm-hmm.
The game would not be what it is.
Yeah, seeded like Breath of the Wild, or because then people could they could enter in a seed if they wanted to play the same seed that you played, or they could just get a randomized seed.
Right. And then people can kind of experience what spoilers do for a game, too, because I think people who... I don't mean to harp on Minecraft a whole bunch. You can type the seed into a website on the internet and find out where all the structures are in Minecraft and where, this tree type is and all the different things that you want to find. And there's something different about discovering it organically than there is about just, mapping it out and gaming it. And you'll find that the more difficult and longer lasting playthroughs, which are organic, are more rewarding and more entertaining, which is kind of the point of video games. I don't know. Nintendo's got a lot of smart people in-house, and they seem to be doing a good job of leadership lately has been crushing it.
Oh yeah, I think they've been doing a lot of what the fans want.
So I'd love to see something that sort of scratches that itch from Nintendo. I think that'd be amazing.
With Nintendo's polish on it.
And they have to know, like, Minecraft sells really well on Nintendo systems.
So throw it in the comments too, like, where do you fall on that spectrum? Are you somebody who's like, I avoid spoilers at all costs? Or are you on the other side where you're like, I literally don't care?
Yeah.
Because we need to kind of know too, our audience, are you guys the kind of people who are like, no, play Echoes of Wisdom, we don't care if we see spoilers?
Right.
Or if you're like, please play it in a way that avoids spoilers for me. Wait a few weeks for me to get it.
Right.
That kind of stuff.
Or we're already getting some helpful comments like, hey, I'm so glad you guys are playing this. I'm going to watch it a little later because I haven't picked up my copy yet, or I haven't gotten as far as you guys are.
If you like this conversation and you've played a couple hours into Echoes of Wisdom, you might like this video where we actually played the first couple hours of Echoes of Wisdom without any foreknowledge of what was going to happen, our novel responses to what was going on in the game as it happened.
That was fun.
You can click on that and we'll see you over there.
In the basement.